My beautiful besties, I hope you guys are doing well today. I had some downloads, so I wanted to come on and do a reading. And I wanted to come on and do a reading about whatever connection you're in, what it's meant to help you heal from. Somebody requested that I do, a reading about shadows and healing. But I also felt called to center it around a connection, specifically a connection that where there's mirroring, or this person was meant to reflect back to you things that you were supposed to heal from, and same for this person. I will do one of these that's not love related in the next week for when I go away to Florida, but this one is going to be about you and the person you're connected to. And even if you aren't interested, or you're not connected to anyone, or you're not interested in knowing what their shadows are, it could be helpful for you to hear some of these things, and you'll know if you're resonating or not with it internally. Also, these types of readings about shadows can be a little triggering, because sometimes when we're resisting a shadow or resisting a wound, our ego kind of gets defensive, or our ego tries to no, that's not about me. So use your discernment when listening to this. And I had a few magical things happen. So the download for this reading came in last night for me. And while I was getting it, I like to teach you guys about spirituality as well and what things mean. And most physical things have a spiritual meaning tied into them. So I was seeing a dusty book, and I was how can I put that? I was seeing a book with dust on it, and it reminded me of this card. So I found this card right before I started your reading today. The number 26 could be symbolic. That's also 26 reduces to 8. So Leo, strength. And I just mentioned maybe some things your ego is resisting. And my nose is running. I have so many downloads right now, so just bear with me. But part of the reason I do what I do is because soul contracts are meant to teach us something, even if they're not meant to be in our lives forever. And I'm really passionate about what I do. And there's always lessons to be learned. So yeah, I was seeing a dusty book, and I was hearing elevation of energy. Yeah, energy. I was hearing soul evolution. And I was also seeing black feathers during my download. So some of you ask me what happens when I get downloads, and something that recently started happening to me is that I start getting a tingling on my crown chakra. And it either feels, you know what it feels like when one of your arms or your foot falls asleep? It kind of feels like that. Or it can feel like your head is sunburned. If you've ever burned the top of your head being outside, like your scalp, that can also, it can feel like you have a sunburn on the top of your head. And that is connected to your crown chakra opening. So I wanted to mention that as well. And recently that's been happening when I get downloads. And somebody said, how do you know what's just a thought and what's a download? To me, it takes a while, and it takes practice, and it takes trusting in yourself. I don't know why I'm talking about this. It takes trusting in your own intuition to know the difference between thoughts and downloads and intuition and anxiety and things like that. I can now discern what's coming from my mind versus what's coming from in here. And recently, the crown chakra tingling has been confirming it as well. But anyway, I was also seeing black feathers, like a bunch of black feathers. So I wrote all this down last night. And I wanted to use, I'm having a hard time staying organized right now for some reason. I'm getting a lot of downloads and like I'm channeling as I speak. So I wanted to come on and use this deck. It's called the Mirror Oracle. And I want to see what you and this person were mirroring back to each other that was meant to be healed. And, you know, I am hearing counterpart energy. I do channel a lot of counterpart energy. And that's part of the journey, is what is being mirrored back to you. What do you need to reflect on? What do you need to heal? So then I went on Angel Shuffle, or I did an Angel Shuffle, which is where you go on your whatever you listen to music on and you hit shuffle on a random playlist. And a song came up that I had never heard before. And this is the deck that I was planning on using, this Mirror Oracle. And the song that started playing was I'll Be Your Mirror. And, oh shoot, who sings it? Hang on. The crows are outside. So it's sang by Clem Snide and Eve, or F. Barzilay. And as I was just writing that down for you, when I wrote down Clem, I got a download of the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I don't know if you've watched that, but to me, that's such a counterpart movie. They trigger the absolute out of each other, and they both try, they can't release each other, so they actually they do some kind of hypnosis to try and remove the memory of each other. Such a good movie, such a powerful movie. And it reminds me of like cutting cords with a soul contract. Like even if you try and cut the cords with like a twin flame or a counterpart, you're unable to. Such a good movie. So when I wrote down Clem, I was hearing Clementine, and that is Jim Carrey is in that, and Kate Winslet. I love Kate Winslet, so those names could be symbolic. And when I wrote down Barzilay, I was hearing Barcelona, so that could be symbolic. But the lyrics of the song, I'll Be Your Mirror, reflect what you are in case you don't know. A hand to your darkness. And it was so powerful. I've never heard that song before. So if you have a chance, you should listen to it. I didn't want to read you all of the lyrics because my iPad's dead, but I did write down those lyrics. I'll be your mirror, reflect what you are in case you don't know. And another thing with counterpart connections, whatever you are seeing in them is a reflection of something in you that still needs to be healed. And I think that's something that a lot of people look over. I think it's very common for people to assume that the twin flame journey is like this romantic love story where there's, you know, happily ever after, and there can be union, definitely. But it's also about awakening and healing, stepping into your higher self, finding your mission. So anyway, that's a song that you should look up. And like I said, this reading is going to be what shadows and what is being reflected in this mirror for you and this person that's meant to be healed. Kind of, you know, I'm hearing, what's the point of this connection? So this could be a little bit triggering. So the black feathers, this is where it got I mean, it's all magical to me. But I was seeing all of these black feathers. And then this morning, this was last night. And then this morning, I went to check for mail, and somebody had sent me black feathers. Raven feathers. I don't even know how I would get a raven feather because I've never seen a raven. I don't even know if we have ravens around here, just crows. So the fact that I was seeing black feathers, and then I went to check for mail, they sent me 3 black feathers. The song Riptide could be symbolic. You know what? I've been making a mistake with Riptide. Every time I mention Riptide, I give the lyrics to Fire and the Flood or whatever it's called. Same person. I am not working for Vance Joy, even though I do love his music, and I mention his music all the time. But yeah, 3 black feathers, so it just kind of confirmed those downloads I was getting. And like I said, when I was getting these downloads, the top of my head was tingling. So I wanted to mention that to you guys because sometimes we just think the things we're feeling can be explained away by medical diagnosis and things like that. I was also, when I was meditating for this, I was getting a leaky left eye. And spiritually, that's symbolic of intuition, connection to your intuition and your inner wisdom. It's also connected to, I didn't write this down, it can also be connected to grief and sadness. And the 3 black feathers, 3 of swords, it was giving me 3 of swords energy. So the spiritual meaning of a raven is transformation and change, and magic, healing and cleansing. But this is where, no, I keep saying this is where it got magical. It was magical the whole time. Facing inner truths and shadows, the raven. It was just, it's magical. And no, I was not. People were like, were you drunk or on drugs during your Halloween reading? Thanks. No, I wasn't. This is what, things like that are used to suppress shadows and suppress sadness, whether it's intentional or not. Take it from someone who's a recovering addict. Healing my shadows and turning them into light and raising my vibrations is so much better than alcohol was. It does so much more for me than alcohol ever did. Alcohol was just suppressing those things. So I'm not sure if addiction is something that needed to be healed here on your side or their side. You know, like I said, what we see in others that trigger us or we're envious of or we judge is a reflection of something within us that needs to heal. Just like what we see in others that we admire is something within us that we are capable of being, if that makes sense. So like all of you who say you admire me and think I'm magical, that's within you. I'm reflecting that back onto you, that's within you. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway. So I think that was everything. Initials I was getting SKEGWJABPC. And this card, I was seeing a dusty book. Hidden things, mystery, philosophy, intellectual knowledge, education, secrets, the unknown, manuscripts, author. So maybe you want to write a book. Or maybe, just stay with me for a minute. I can't remember if Naked by the Moon does this with a card. Maybe that's where this is coming from. But grab a random book and open it to page 26 and see what it says. You know what? I'm going to do it right now with this healing deck that I'm about to use. I'm going to use the Sacred Wounding deck, which I haven't used in a little while. And it can be triggering. So page 26. Oh, that's not going to work. Well, I'm going to read. The sad thing is that page 26 is not actually on a wound yet because it's still explaining the book. But I'm going to read these to you. Page 26. Wound of denial. What truth am I avoiding and why? Wound of dependency. Where am I overly dependent on others or external validation? And that can be tough on the spiritual journey because especially if you are, a feminine, and distorted feminine energy needs validation, needs that validation in the 3D rather than trusting their intuition. Wound of regret. What regret do I carry and how is it shaping my present? Wound of suppression, and I just talked about suppressing our wounds with substances. What part of myself have I been suppressing or hiding? Even your spirituality, even your magic. Wound of limitation. What limiting belief is keeping me from growth? Wound of self-sabotage, which is something that is, I talk about self-sabotage all the time and how especially counterparts trigger those wounds within us. Where am I unconsciously sabotaging my own progress? Wound of emotional suppression. What emotions am I suppressing and how is this affecting my mental and physical health? Wound of vulnerability. Where am I afraid to be vulnerable and how is this fear limiting my connections with others? That's page 26 in this book. So if you feel called to, don't overthink it. Grab a random book, whatever one your gut says to grab, and turn to page 26 and see what it says. I need to blow my nose, hang on. All right, so let's get into it. And if you are counterparts and you're listening to this reading, also pay attention to the cards I'm pulling for your person, because if you're counterparts, on some level you probably have the same type of wound. It could also help you understand that person better. Anyway, so let's see what happens here. We're going to get you first. I've already shuffled these a bunch, but I'm just going to shuffle them again. There's the sun. All right, so we're going to cut the deck. We have Pisces energy, so Pisces could be symbolic. Interesting. Look at that image. So if you are trying to strengthen your intuition, I'm an intuitive reader, so I always go with the first thoughts that come to me with this. And the song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, is that what it's called? That's what this card reminds me of. Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. I can't think of any of the lyrics to that song. I'm also getting like contemplation, procrastination. There's also something about these fish swimming around. It's like this person is watching the fish swim around their foot, and those fish are reminding me of abundance. We also have Taurus energy. So you could be a Taurus. And Taurus is ruled by the throat, so possibly something about suppressing your voice, or maybe your voice is meant to be shared with the world. I have to say it. That's not even the right book. So I am going to look at Pisces because it's on the bottom. Pisces, High Priestess energy, the Moon energy, Divine Feminine. Where are you, Pisces? There you are. Symbols, twin fish. Oh my gosh, I didn't even pick up on that. So I did say this is probably a counterpart reading. The two fishies. The sea, the moon. Associations, number 12 and 3. 3, Empress energy. 12, Hanged Man energy. Surrender. Surrendering to your divine feminine energy within you. Water, contemplation, Neptune, the moon. All right. This card is very introspective, just like Hanged Man energy. High sensitivity and deep empathy. So you could even be, you or your person could be on the spectrum, or you could be an empath. You could be highly sensitive to energy or have deep empathy for others. Pisces requests that we recognize the many lessons represented in the life cycle. Hang on. Pisces requests that we recognize the many lessons represented in the life cycle and patiently keep our minds and hearts open to synthesize our dreams and sensitivities. It can also imply pessimism and aimless wandering. All right. So maybe you're dealing with a bit of pessimistic energy. All right. Maybe you're pessimistic about the twin flame journey. There comes a point when you surrender. Anyway. All right. Well, we've got 2 cards coming out for you. I wanted to start with you. We have Aries, so that could be symbolic, and we have the path. So I'll show them to you so you can think about what they mean for you. Focus, thank you. And look at that candle. And then on the bottom we have tethers. I'm hearing limiting beliefs or the opinions of others, the opinions of people who are not on this journey or of muggles, or limiting beliefs of the 3D world could be keeping you stuck here. It's giving me 8 of Swords energy. This also could be something you feel like it's hard to release. I mentioned I am compassionate and patient with myself during my stages of personal growth. That's your affirmation. But I was hearing that movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Such a powerful movie. I just got chills when I mentioned that movie. I feel like there's going to be a message in that movie for you if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it since getting into spirituality. I'll make you a deal. I'll watch it if you watch it, and then I'll come on and talk about it. I mean, I've seen it before, and I watched it a couple years ago when I spiritually awakened, but I think I need to watch it again. Okay, I'm going to have to go to the table of contents because I'm struggling to find it. So Aries is here. The flame. Symbols, the flame, the head. Associations, number 1, Mars, fire, the ram. Vitality, beginnings, power, the magician. All right. Magician, energy. Its energy can be temperamental if not honed and directed carefully. It can be prone to fizzling out before seeing things through to their completion, much like a candle. And it's funny because right before I pulled your cards, I said, there comes a time when the divine feminine surrenders, and if you want the divine masculine to surrender, you have to surrender. And that means surrendering limiting beliefs. That means surrendering pessimism about the journey, not believing in it, doubting it. It means surrendering to your shadows. It means surrendering the outcome, surrendering control. And maybe, I'm picking up on this very contemplative energy, so maybe you're contemplating all of these things. I also keep staring off into the distance. I don't know what that's about. So there could be some things that you give up before you reach completion, or even this journey, this connection. Aries symbolizes novelty, creativity, fast-moving projects, drive. It can also imply short-sightedness, overextending oneself, rash behavior. So this connection definitely could have triggered some rash behavior within you or some reactions. It could have triggered overextending oneself. So definitely something that happens on this journey is the twin flame needs to learn how to stop over giving and stop chasing and stop overextending themselves, not just to their counterpart, not just to their counterpart, but to other people as well. Overextending themselves to work even. And when I opened that book on page 26, it did say something about this. It burns for you. What is that? Maybe I'm thinking of the song Yellow, look how they shine for you, but I'm also hearing burns for you. I'm not sure if that's a song. It burns for you. And we have the path. The path. Oh, right. Table of contents. These are not in alphabetical order. The path. The path. The path? I can't find the path. 41. Symbols: the cane, the path, the moon. Associations: number 19 and 20, journeys, foresight. 19, divine masculine energy. 20, judgment energy. So you could be, you could be losing determination and patience for this journey because maybe you're not getting the validation you wanted in the 3D, or you're not seeing the validation you wanted. At some point you have to trust in the journey. You have to free yourself from the limiting mindset and the fear and other people's opinions. Anyway. That's interesting. So this card is about making it past a barrier and looking out to the journey ahead. So the barrier could be your limiting beliefs. Your barrier could be not truly trusting in the journey, not truly believing in it. Even if you say you believe it, maybe deep down somewhere you're questioning it, or you are, I'm hearing, resentful that you're a counterpart. I don't know why I just heard, why me? So you're about to make it past an initial barrier. Now all that remains is a long road ahead and the many forks and choices that follow. What is it that we are seeking? So this person is meant to reflect back to you what you are seeking. So if you are seeking out from this person, if you are seeking out reciprocity, if you are seeking out validation, if you are seeking out love from them, that it's about whatever you're seeking from this person is within you. I always say the love that you're seeking from outside of you is within you. The consistency that you're seeking from another person is within inside of you. If you are seeking consistency from this person, how do you show up in consistent ways for yourself? It's something to reflect on. Is the road ahead easy, or will we find ourselves traversing even more obstacles? While the future can be certain, the path laid out before us implies others have walked it before, and others have walked it before. If you think about it, this isn't a man-made path. This is a path that's made by others walking this path before. I just got chills when I said that. I'm sure you've seen paths like that before, where you can see people who have followed a line through a field, and then other people behind them follow the same path, and it creates this worn down grass. So you're not the only one on this path. You're walking with others. You're walking with me. And you have to trust that others have been down this path before. The ego and doubting this connection, I just sounded so Canadian. Doubting? doubting it, questioning it, overthinking it, wondering if you're delusional, it's such a block. It's such a blockage. And at some point you have to like, either you believe or you don't, right? At some point you have to surrender. You can't, you know, I think it's common for people to think, I'm hearing, you know, someone saying, well, if my counterpart comes back, then I'll know that it's real. You have to believe it before you get that validation in the 3D. Again, divine feminine energy doesn't need the validation in the 3D. Divine feminine energy trusts themselves, and I'm not talking about gender. There are so many men who are the divine feminine. And you're not alone. It's not, remember how I was hearing why me before I read this card? It's not just you. And again, I have to stress the point of counterpart connections. Yes, there's the, you can come back together in union, but the real beauty of this journey is what it does for you. I would not change a thing about the last 4 years of my life because it's led me to my higher self. I've broken generational, I almost said circuses, generational cycles in my family. It stops with me. I have, you know, I know every mother kind of is biased when it comes to their children, but I have 4 children who are growing up in extremely emotionally intelligent, healed energy, being their authentic selves, not, you know, conforming to what the world wants us to be. I've found my mission. I've found inner peace, self-love. Like self-love alone, that's worth it. The journey is worth it for you. And you're following in the footsteps of others. And guess what? I don't know if you know this, but with counterparts, your energy affects other counterpart connections and other waves of counterparts. So the counterparts who have come into union, that union energy is helping counterparts who are not yet in union. And it's not why me. It's like, it's almost like you, I know I'm going to trigger people when I say say this, but it's almost like you won the spiritual lottery. It shouldn't be why me. It should be like, I'm thankful that it's me. Trigger. Triggered. I just picked up this book upside down. The Path is a card that concerns itself with the act of projection and foresight. It can also imply overanalyzing, catastrophizing, or finding oneself paralyzed. So like, I also see that all the time. I see people projecting. I see people catastrophizing, like doomsdaying. My person is never going to come back. I'm done with this journey. But the journey is about you. Anyway, let me just see if there's anything I want to mention about this card on the bottom. Tethers. Heather? Are you here, Heather? 53. I looked right at it. Interesting. The arms, number 25 and 7. Rings, earth element attachment. So this connection could have needed to teach you about healthy attachment, codependency, healing codependency. Also, making room for the ability to detach. And I always talk about healthy detachment. Healthy detachment is not, I'm done with this journey, they can get stuffed, F them. That's not healthy detachment. That's like, That's not healthy detachment. Healthy detachment is I surrender it to the universe. I trust that what is meant for me will not pass me by. I'm hearing the song I Hope You're Happy by Blue October. I hope you're happy even if you're not mine. So this is about the things that tie you down. So this connection was meant to help you realize what is tying you down, what is keeping you stuck. Limiting beliefs, the opinions of others. All right. Let's see your person. Shadows, or what is being reflected back with your person. I have to get 2 cards. So we have Cancer energy coming out, which I didn't want to get them 3 cards. I wanted to keep it even. We have Capricorn, Cancer. So I will mention Cancer energy once we get into their cards. So we have Valor, and we have some type of hawk. I think it's called a gauze hawk. I'm not sure. I'll look in the book. And it's carrying a snake. And, what I want to say right away with the hawk is change, and the snake, transformation. Perhaps this person has some, again, trust your intuition. For me, intuitively, there's obstacles here. There's clouds here. So obstacles, illusions, maybe self-deception. What is that I'm hearing? There's something about maybe this person couldn't see their shadows or couldn't see the things that they needed to change or release. Because the hawk is about, even though it's a gauze hawk, I think, to me the hawk is about change. And this hawk is holding on to a snake. So this person could have been holding on to some toxic attachments, some toxic traits that maybe it was not it. Maybe they were not seeing, I'm talking about a person, not the hawk. Maybe they weren't seeing those unhealthy attachments or those addictions or those toxic traits. Maybe they were unwilling to change them. What else do we have? We have offerings. Interesting. Something about growth. Let's see. The Valor. 31. You had 41. I feel like this person is behind you in the journey. And think about this path card. Counterpart energy. The divine feminine leads the way. So it's almost like you're paving a path for your person here. And maybe they're farther behind you because you had 41 and they have 31, which to me, it kind of gives me the energy of like, this person is behind you on the journey, which is, I don't mean that way, but that's, the masculine awakens at a delay. They have realizations at a delay. And again, how can this person surrender to their awakening and their healing if you haven't yet surrendered to that inner knowing and trusting in the journey? And people will say, it's not fair. I don't understand why the divine feminine has to lead the way. I didn't make the rules. But when I see stuff like that, again, projection, that's projecting out like some self-victimization. Oh my gosh, the people I'm triggering right now. It's like it's projecting out feeling a little bit like a victim or like, that's not fair, coming from ego. Just a reminder that I love you. And if I'm triggering you, it's because I always say, if you're triggered, it's because there's some truth in it. Otherwise, you just be like, oh no, that's not me. I don't believe that it's unfair. I've surrendered. But if it's triggering you when I'm saying, it's not fair, there's something there. I've already forgotten what page, 31? No. Yes, 31. Oh my gosh. So, symbols: a viper, a goshawk. What was I saying? Was I saying goshawk? Northern goshawk? Number 14 and 4. No, 14 and 5. Bravery, resolve, taking charge. Yeah, so this snake, the chain viper, has associations with the devil. So devil energy is associated with vices, with unhealthy attachments, with toxic traits, negative emotional patterns, unhealthy attachment styles. And what must we do to confront our enemies and our fears? Who do we become and who do we desire to be? And this is about confrontation. So I feel like maybe there was a lot of confrontation in this connection, or your person was very confrontational. And I was just talking about triggers. And if it triggers you, that means there's your ego is trying to protect you. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Your shadows do not define you. They actually, when you shine light on them, they can be quite powerful. How many people thought I was high or drunk yesterday dressed as a Care Bear? And I was not. I was completely sober, living on lemon water. That's the end result, or part of the result, of working on your shadows. That's where that high vibration comes from. Who and what helps us to rise to the occasion to face these things and release them? And it's reminded me of Ever After. Why do you rise to the occasion? So, confrontation, bringing oneself to do the right thing in face of adversity and pain. It can also imply pride and self-righteousness. So you could have been dealing with someone with a lot of pride, and you were meant to trigger that pride. And we have offerings, which is making me feel something about like this person had a hard time receiving what you were offering. The growth that you were offering up on a silver platter to them. The growth or the offer of love that they were being confronted with. Offering. Interesting. I've shuffled, it's card 33. And it's right after the card Valor, 31. So these cards go up by 2. There's no... Hang on. Until we get to card 100, or page 100. No, there's no even cards in this deck. That's interesting. Maybe you're a little bit odd. Hey, I take that as a compliment. 33. Number 15 and 6, forgiveness, truth-seeking, the Suit of Cups. So again, number 15, the Devil, and 6, Lover's energy, a connection that's meant to teach you about yourself. and forgiveness. No way. So I'm reading this card, but just think about what we talked about with the hawk. Just look at both of those. This card suggests that suggests a need to release habits, items, ego, individuals. It can also suggest a need to pay homage and express gratitude for all that one has and ensure that we do not take something for granted. So this person could have taken what you were offering on a silver platter for granted. You know that expression? You know, you offered up love, empathy, energy up on a silver platter, and this person could have took it for granted. There's something about you offering them a chance to grow here. But they were unwilling to take that opportunity. And then we have Cancer on the bottom. 11. This is your person. The Moon, intuition, compassion, the Moon, High Priestess. Wading through self-imposed melancholy. And this is, this is a message for you too. Cancer encourages us to pay attention. Maybe this card is for both of you because I said I only wanted to get them 2 cards. Cancer encourages us to pay attention to our gut instincts, see past the illusions of the world, and pay heed to our emotions, and nurture and protect that which we cherish. It can also imply a near smothering nature, oversensitivity, and hypervigilance. And I'm not saying that you smothered this person with love, but we were talking about like overgiving, overextending oneself. Sometimes when I don't like the term smothering with love or like needy or clingy. Those sound negative, right? But sometimes when we overgive to others, we're overextending ourselves because we're seeking that for ourselves. So we overextend it to others, or we smother this person with love because that's what subconsciously we are seeking. This is also about it's about following your intuition and your gut instinct, which is your intuition. Your gut doesn't lie. Go with your gut is essentially saying go with your intuition. That's why I said when you get a book, go with your gut. I wonder what page 26 is in this book. Let's look. 26. Oh, it's Pisces, which we pulled. That's interesting. All right. So, and this shadow thing that I'm about to get, this shadow deck, even if you don't resonate with the shadow that I'm pulling, it might give you a deeper understanding into the people around you, like your parents, your coworkers, your counterpart. So I'm just going to pull one card from the Oracle of Pluto, which is also about shadows for each of you, because I just really want to see what this connection is mirroring back, or what shadows are being triggered here, so that you can understand it's not just that you're delusional. You're anything but delusional is what I'm hearing. All right. My time is about to run out. Iris, the name Iris could be symbolic, or the song. That's a song, right? I'm sure it's a song. Is that the song, "And I'd Give Up Forever to Touch You because I Know That You'd Feel Me Somehow"? Is that Iris? I can't remember. So, the viewer, what shadow was being triggered? The viewer. The viewer. We have the lion. And the lion is about personal growth. I don't know what this lion card is about, but I immediately think of my favorite deck. And the lion is about personal growth and spiritual transformation. And it's about someone who dedicates themselves to spiritual growth and personal transformation, which is such, to me, that is what the divine feminine does. They surrender to the journey. They dedicate themselves to personal growth and spiritual transformation. They release the outcome, divine feminine energy, like true divine feminine energy. It's also about patience. The lion is about patience. So this person could be, that's another lesson for divine feminines is patience. It's one of the hardest lessons. The lion. I'm just going to look. It's on the bottom, so we might as well just have a look at it. Oh, come on. The lion. None of these are in alphabetical order either. 72. Which reduces to 9. Hermit energy. Walk in your soul path, like that path card. Wow, this is divine masculine energy. Pride the father. That's really interesting. Okay, so there's a very clear message here. This person was meant to help you heal your divine masculine energy. And I always say it's not about gender. We have both energies within us. Divine masculine energy is stability, it's strength, it's confidence, it's being able to take action towards the things we feel called to take action towards. It's about building an empire, building something solid, right? And again, the journey of a counterpart is to balance both energies, to have a healthy balance of divine feminine and divine masculine energies. And just because you resonate as a counterpart doesn't mean that you are in your divine feminine energy. You could still be in wounded feminine energy or wounded masculine energy. And wounded masculine energy looks like living life by your clock. It looks like a need to be right. Wounded feminine energy can talk about going around in cycles. It can talk about manipulation, wanting to manipulate the outcome, not trusting your intuition. So again, if you're doubting the journey and you're not trusting in it, that's like wounded feminine energy. And as you heal your feminine energy, it's easier to trust in the journey. Hopefully that makes sense. But this person was meant to trigger your confidence, like trigger you into your... I feel like they were meant to trigger your lack of self-confidence, and they were meant to help you evolve into a more self-confident energy through trials and tribulations, not by standing there and being like, you're so amazing, you should have confidence. No, it comes from the lessons and the tower moments and the triggers. But there's also something here about a father wound. So this person could have been similar to your father, or the relationship you had with your father, or the trauma that you encountered with your father as a young child. And that could have made it extra painful, not because, well, yes, because this person was treating you like your father treated you, but they were triggering an unhealed wound within you, a wound that maybe laid dormant within you for a very long time. I can use myself as an example. I have no problem with that. I definitely saw traits of what I experienced as a child in my counterpart, and it triggered me in a way that I had never been triggered. And it kind of brought back those feelings of all the trauma I experienced as a child, even though it wasn't as intense. There was just something very familiar about it. And it allowed me to finally heal those wounds that I developed as a child, wounds that laid dormant within me. So I feel like this person triggered your father wounds. Even if they were just a little bit like your father. Do you know what I mean? How can I explain that better? Spirit, help me. Anyway, there was probably something similar between your counterpart and your father that triggered like lack of self-confidence or feelings of unworthiness. I appreciate the many ways in which things just keep getting better and better. Yes, Spirit. That's your affirmation. All right, I'm just going to read this to you. When we speak of the divine masculine and divine feminine through the lens of spirituality, we aren't speaking about gender, but rather the two sides of nature that exist in all things. These energies are one way to think about the two halves that make us whole, and they exist on a spectrum in varying degrees. Masculine energy is often thought as the active principle, the side of us that is ambitious, driven, and ready to make moves. Feminine is the passive principle, open, receptive, observing. So you could have also been someone in this connection who was overextending yourself. Like maybe you had an unhealthy amount of masculine energy where you were the one to always take lead, or you were the one to step up and take action towards this person and give to them and overextend yourself. That could have mirrored back to you that you needed to be the one that was more open, receptive, observing. So it was meant to teach you something about your own masculine energy, and also a fatherly relationship, whether with your biological father or a chosen father figure. All right, now we have the crab. It's giving me hermit energy. So what page was the lion on? I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. The lion. No. But this is about, they were meant to help you balance your divine feminine, divine masculine energy, which makes sense. So the crab. Number 5, Hierophant energy. Spiritual lessons. Spiritual elevation. Remember, I wrote down elevation. Yep. Self-protection, boundaries, teaching others how to treat you. Definitely. That is a lesson of the divine feminine. That makes total sense. Boundaries are hard, and as we move through through life, our boundaries shift, grow, and transform along with us. And I got to tell you something about boundaries, okay? It's one thing to set a boundary, you also have to honor your own boundaries. And what I mean by that is setting boundaries with other people, yes, not overextending yourself to others, not overgiving to others like we talked about. I'm just mentioning the energy that was coming through in your cards. But something that I struggled with is I would set a boundary and then I wouldn't follow the boundary. Like I would set a boundary about, I'll just use an example, like, hang on, I'm running out of time here. Like I would set a boundary to not speak to someone. And then they would stop speaking to me and I'd start speaking to them again. Like I would set a boundary and then I wouldn't respect my own boundary. Or I would set a boundary and the person I was setting a boundary with didn't respect my boundary and I would continue to like engage with them. So it's also important to respect the boundaries that you're setting, if that makes sense. But this connection was meant to help you, to teach you to set healthy boundaries, to learn how to say no, maybe, to not be a people pleaser or an overgiver, to teach others how to treat you. So maybe you were someone that, you know, I used to say, do I have take advantage of me written on my forehead? And I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I was always getting taken advantage of people. And then I would be like in that victim mentality. Why do people take advantage of me? Everybody takes advantage of me. Everybody blah, 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 blah. I'm saying blah, blah, blah to myself. And then when I started healing and spiritually awakening, I realized the reason people were taking advantage of me was not because I had take advantage of me written across my forehead, although I might as well have. I was allowing them. I was enabling them to do so by not standing up for myself, by not teaching others how to treat me, by setting healthy boundaries. You know, one example or one thing that I came across all the time was like contractors taking advantage of me. And then when they would take advantage of me, would I say anything? No. Would I fire them? No. Would I contact their bosses and complain about them? No. And I just kept repeating this lesson over and over again. And then this year, you guys might remember this, I had a contractor in my house taking fucking advantage of me all the time, not working, constantly giving him money for things that he wasn't doing. And I struggled with it because I'm an empath and I'm like, well, I feel bad for him. I don't want to hurt his feelings. Eventually I had to say like, well, I didn't do it. My partner did it. But I said to my partner, I'm putting my foot down. We are firing him. I've had enough. And then the next contractor I hired, and it's the first contractor I've ever hired, was amazing. The name Bill could be symbolic. And he didn't screw us over. That's what I mean. The behavior you accept is how the energy that you're giving the universe the message. This is how I allow others to treat me. What you're willing to accept. So if you're willing to accept bad behavior, you're teaching others they can treat you badly. Do you know what I mean? It makes sense up here. Anyway. So, boundaries are hard, and as we move throughout our life, boundaries shift, grow, and transform along with us. Knowing when it's time to stay and fight versus when it's the best time to like take a step back is a delicate art. But master it now. Remember that we ultimately teach others how to treat us through our boundaries. Do you have them? I didn't know what a boundary was until I was 35. I had never heard that word in my family. I hope you can hear me. I just had something weird happen. I had never heard the word boundary in my house growing up. It wasn't a thing. I always thought boundaries was like a fence or the police boundary. And then when I was 35, I learned about what boundaries are. I was never taught boundaries. So I had a hard time having boundaries with others, or when someone would put up a boundary with me, I would take it personally because I didn't know what they were. And I teach my kids boundaries. If you have kids, teach your kids boundaries. Just because they're children, we still have to respect them. And I teach my kids about boundaries. Just silly example, I teach my kids the behavior you're willing to accept is how you're telling others it's okay to treat you. So one of my kids doesn't like their stomach being touched. And their sibling will keep touching their stomach and they'll keep saying, I don't like my stomach being touched. And their sibling will keep doing it, poking them or whatever. So I taught them, I'm like, we're setting a boundary now. The boundary is they do not like their stomach being touched. That's their boundary. It's about personal space. It makes them uncomfortable. Do not do it. It's okay to set boundaries. But if they don't do that, their sibling is just going to keep touching their freaking stomach. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. Boundary can also be silent withdrawal. Like if somebody is mistreating you, you can put up a silent boundary by withdrawing your energy. I'm not talking about running from them. I'm not talking about the silent treatment. But like, let's say you set a boundary and then somebody fights you on it. Like, for example, my dad fought me on my boundaries when I first started healing. And all I could do was silently withdraw at that point. What feels the safest and most empowering option is the answer now. Stay open to the possibilities of that answer changing throughout the situation too. Honor your own boundaries, honor your own needs. And that's what I mean. You can set the boundary, but then if somebody keeps crossing that boundary and you keep engaging with them, what is the point of that boundary? And again, boundaries is one of the most, I say that about a lot. Patience, trusting your intuition, boundaries, divine feminine lessons here. Let's get a card for your person. So yeah, this reading is just about this. It's just about talking about this type of stuff. That's all it is. All right. Card for your person. What shadows were being triggered with this person that you're connected to? So they have two. The giraffe and the moose. Oh my gosh, it's no wonder that you needed to, you were triggering each other's shadows big time, because I believe the moose is about like imposing energy. So you could have set a boundary and they could have like fought it. Just like I was describing with my father. The giraffe, that's about seeing the bigger picture, I believe. Giraffe. 34. Interesting. 34. Empress and Emperor energy. Why couldn't I think of the word? Balance between the head and the heart. King of Cups energy. Balance between the head and the heart. King of Cups energy. So you, the offering, you could have been triggering this person to learn how to give. To give in a reciprocal way. To not just receive. Oh my gosh, my battery's dying. Healthy communication, emotional intelligence. The shadow of the King of Cups is, being emotionally unavailable, emotionally shutting down, emotional manipulation. So you could have triggered all that within this person. So this person was being triggered to find the balance between the head and the heart. How many times have you heard people talk about their head and their heart? That they're at war with one another, for example, or that the heart says one thing and the brain says another. To me, that's ego versus intuition, or fear versus intuition. The giraffe card asks us to put equal weight in our practical, logical, and objective side, and our emotional, spiritual, intuitive side. There exists an intersection where both aspects of ourselves meet, where they agree and they tell us the same thing. So somebody who doesn't have a healthy balance of head and heart can be extremely triggered, like extremely reactive, extremely triggered, unable to keep their cool in conflict. This person could have approached things too logically without emotion. I also feel like you were meant to trigger this person's intuition because they were so much in their head or like so much in their overthinking, overanalysis. Remember that card? One of those cards talked about it. They could have taken things like, they could have been very logical, where you could have been an empath. And we have the moose. I'm going to have to charge my phone a little before I finish this reading. The moose. 25. And you know what's sad? These are the readings that, you know, if you really want to transform, like if you really want to embrace the counterpart journey, these are the type of readings you need to hear, not just their feelings about you. Do you know what I mean? Intimidating large beast, the moose. So, this person could have made you feel very small. They could have been very intimidating. They could have been very powerful. They could have been very... I don't know how to explain it. It's giving David and Goliath as an example. So you could have felt like David and they were Goliath. Perception is everything. Avoidance. Avoidance. So this person actually you could have triggered within them some of their avoidant tendencies, some of their, it's like an imposing energy, or someone who, like, they could have tried to intimidate you or make you feel small. And I'm not saying they did that intentionally, but you could have triggered something within them that made them feel small, maybe even like a small little wounded child. So then they might have reacted in like an aggressive way to try and make you feel smaller. And I always say, when someone is trying to bring somebody else down or make someone else feel smaller, hurtful words, judgments, whatever it is, it's because they feel small inside and they want to bring that person down to their level. And I'm not saying this is conscious. A lot of it comes from a subconscious wounded place. But it's no wonder you were meant to learn how to put up boundaries and they were coming in this moose energy. This person, part of their lesson could have been like to try and not push their perspective, or to be open to other people's perspectives, to see above their own perspective, to see the bigger picture. This person could have been very set in their ways or very set in their perception. I'm hearing it's my way or the highway. Anyway, I'm just going to take a little break while I charge my phone, but I'll be back in a second for you. All right, I'm back. So I just wanted to get an archetype card for each of you to see what was being triggered or what was being reflected back to you here to heal. I'm just going to get one card for each of you. I might actually... All right. The One and the Internal Child. That was weird. So, the Internal Child. It's on page 69, which is such a counterpart number. The inner child. So this person was meant to, you were both, I'm taking this for both of you, you were meant to trigger each other's inner child wounds and to heal the inner child. When in dark, listen to this. This is what it was meant to trigger. Addicted, so codependency or addiction. Selfishness, burns out. Peter Pan could be symbolic. All right, I'm just going to read it to you. The internal child is connected to the timeless, ageless, and infinite aspects of life. It is radiant and fearless and seeks joy above all else and at any cost. It struggles being bound to an aging body with physical limitations in a world that demands attention to detail and logistics. The internal child wants to nix all rules and responsibilities and go beyond what others say is possible. It wants to return to the land of the free, where divine wine and creativity pour from the earth and sky. We all want a sip of the well of eternal youth, and this makes the internal child naturally popular, perhaps even famous. The internal child glimmers. It reminds us of what is possible and what is magical about this precious life. That's beautiful. And when you heal your inner child, when you heal those shadows, you shine. You have the joy of an inner child. People used to ask me, "What's so funny? What are you laughing at?" It's my inner child shining through. So you and this person could have, really sparked each other's inner child wounds, but also inner child joy. And then we have the one. It was weird how those cards came out. I was just about to say I'm just going to pick one, but then that one flew out. The one. 121. Non-duality, one love. When in light, serves, loves, accepts, resonates. When in dark, ignores, omits, excludes. Our ability to experience this archetype firsthand is limited. It comes in brief, potent moments that we are left to savor for a lifetime. The one is both the energy that unites all living beings and our capacity to sense this intimate union. This archetype eludes us most of our lives, appearing as a concept in a distant galaxy. Yet when we are in the midst of its power, a solemn reverence falls across all the land. We glimpse ourselves in the vastness of all consciousness and are neither small nor large within that field. We are neither important or unimportant. All duality fades away and we are left with what is, the precious knowing that life is a gift and that we are both the giver and receiver of this fortune. The one. That's interesting. All right, sacred wounding time. So I'm just going to get a couple and we'll read from the book for this. All right. Forgiveness blockages will show up as holding on to past hurts, resentment, or anger, preventing emotional healing. It can create feelings of bitterness, a lack of peace, and difficulty moving forward. And this isn't just about you forgiving them. It's about forgiving yourself. It's about them forgiving themselves. And I always say forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about us and the weight we carry with that resentment and anger. Also, someone has to be able to forgive themselves for their actions or hurting others before they can ask for forgiveness, which is where denial comes in. So let's see what shadows, what wounding was being triggered within this connection. Definitely something about intuition. All right, I'm going to take this one. Cognitive dissonance. And third eye blockage. So, blockage of the third eye. Where are you? Third eye blockage. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Isn't that the truth? Albert Einstein. A blocked third eye chakra disconnects you from the wisdom that exists beyond logic. So they had something about logic, so you were both meant to trigger each other's intuition and third eye and inner knowing. leaving you trapped in overanalysis, self-doubt, and a reliance on external proof and validation over inner knowing. This wound convinces you that intuition is unreliable, that what cannot be measured or explained is not real, and that certainty must come from the outside world rather than from within. It manifests as difficulty making decisions, dismissing gut feelings, or struggling to see the bigger picture, the giraffe, or feeling lost without a clear path forward, and you had the path. That's magic. You may overthink, seek outside validation, or fear trusting your instincts, believing rationality alone will keep you safe. Healing the third eye blockage means remembering the sacred gift of intuition. Your mind is a powerful tool, but it is not meant to be the only guide. Your intuition is not irrational. It is ancient wisdom speaking through you. The more you quiet external noise and turn inward, the more clearly you will see. Meditation, dream work, and moments of stillness help reopen the doorway to inner vision. The truth you seek is already within you. When you learn to trust the unseen as much as the seen, your world expands, and your path reveals itself one intuitive step at a time. So, the third eye chakra blockage, a deep energetic imbalance affecting intuition, inner wisdom, and the ability to see beyond surface level reality, often caused by fear, skepticism, or past experiences of being gaslit or invalidated. This wound manifests as difficulty trusting one's instincts, over-reliance on logic, or a disconnect from deeper knowing. Some may feel lost, unable to access clarity or direction, while others may experience doubt in their intuitive abilities, fearing they are imagining things or making the wrong choice. There may be an internalized belief that intuition is unreliable, dangerous, or not as valuable as intellect. Emotionally, this wound can create cycles of confusion, overthinking, and fear of trusting one's perceptions. Physically, it may manifest as headaches, tension in the forehead or brow, or eye strain, difficulty seeing the truth. Over time, an unresolved third eye blockage can result in chronic indecision, spiritual disconnection, or difficulty recognizing patterns and synchronicities. Watch for patterns of second-guessing, rejecting inner knowing, or feeling disconnected from one's vision for the future. And then cognitive dissonance, which I talk about all the time, which is about confusion between the head and the heart. Cognitive dissonance is the tension between what you believe and what you experience, the moment when reality no longer aligns with the stories you've been telling yourself. It is the discomfort of realizing something you once held as truth may not be true at all, and so the mind resists. It clings to old narratives, justifies contradictions, and avoids the deeper reckoning. Because to admit the truth, to acknowledge the misalignment, means facing the unknown, letting go of certainty, and stepping into a space where you no longer have all the answers, and that is terrifying. But growth is not about staying comfortable. It is about evolving beyond the illusions that no longer serve you. The discomfort of cognitive dissonance is not a punishment, it is an invitation to question, to expand, to rewrite what no longer fits. The mind will try and hold on, to rationalize, to resist, but the soul knows when something is not in alignment. You do not have to fear new truth. You do not have to fear change. When you allow yourself to sit with the discomfort, you open yourself up to seeing things as they are rather than how you wish them to be. You are not losing yourself, you are finding clarity. A deep internal conflict that arises when beliefs, values, and actions contradict each other, leading to mental and emotional distress. This wound manifests as discomfort, self-doubt, and an inability to reconcile opposing truths, creating a cycle of rationalization, avoidance, or justification. That's interesting. There may be a struggle between personal integrity and external expectations, a disconnection between what is known and what is chosen, or a fear of confronting inconvenient truths. This can result in feelings of guilt, anxiety, or defensiveness when challenged. The moose. Over time, cognitive dissonance can lead to exhaustion as the mind constantly tries to bridge the gap between belief and reality. Some may attempt to resolve the conflict by clinging rigidly to familiar narratives, while others may oscillate between perspectives, never fully settling into an authentic truth. Physically, this wound can manifest as headaches, digestive distress, or chronic tension, particularly in the jaw and neck from suppressed frustration. Watch for patterns of denial, justifying contradictions, or avoiding information that challenges existing beliefs. Okay, I want to get another one. Let's get two more. Two more, please, Spirit. Two more. Emotional repression. Emotional repression. And heal from your ego dissolution. Dissolution. These two. So, emotional repression. I don't know, that reminds me of my childhood. Like, we weren't allowed to talk about our emotions. We weren't allowed to talk about conflict. We had to keep it all in. We weren't allowed to have feelings. You don't have to control your thoughts. You must stop letting them control you. Emotional repression often stems from the belief that controlling your feelings will protect you from pain. You think, and I hate when people say, like, you can just control your emotions, or when people say, stop crying, stop crying. You think if you suppress them long enough, they will disappear, but emotions aren't something you can control or eliminate by force. They are messengers guiding you towards healing and clarity. When you repress your emotions, you are not solving the problem, you are hiding from it. The weight of unexpressed feelings piles up, seeping into your body, your relationships, and your overall well-being, leaving you trapped in cycles of emotional numbness or sudden, unanticipated outbursts. And that's another thing that divine feminines are supposed to heal. They're supposed to heal freely expressing their emotions and their truth, their authentic truth, not, pushing them down so they don't upset other people. Healing from emotional repression is about giving yourself permission to stop resisting what arises within you. You don't have to forcefully control your thoughts and emotions, but rather, you must stop allowing them to control you. By acknowledging and feeling your emotions fully, you release their grip on your life. The more you allow yourself to experience what you feel without judgment, the more you reclaim your inner peace. You are not your emotions, but by honoring them, you regain control of your emotional landscape and open the door to true healing and freedom. A deeply ingrained habit of suppressing, minimizing, or intellectualizing emotions, so your person could have done this as well with you, often stemming from past experiences where feelings were dismissed, punished, or deemed unsafe to express. This wound manifests as difficulty identifying emotions, struggling to be vulnerable, or feeling disconnected from one's inner world. There may be a belief that emotions are a weakness, leading to avoidance, denial, or keeping feelings tightly controlled to maintain stability. Over time, unprocessed emotions build up like pressure beneath the surface, resulting in outbursts, reactions, numbness, or an inability to connect deeply with oneself and others. So that's kind of what I did with my emotions and feelings and wounding. I drowned them in alcohol. Where was I? Some may become hyper-logical, analyzing rather than feeling, while others may adopt an everything is fine persona to avoid discomfort. Physically, this wound can manifest as tightness in the throat, stomach issues, or chronic tension in the body where emotions remain trapped. So if you have like tension in your body somewhere, look up what it means spiritually. Of course, seek medical advice. But I cannot tell you the amount of times that I had something going on with my body. Like at one point, I couldn't open my jaw. I don't know if you guys remember me talking about that. One of you sent me like a bite thing to wear at night, which actually really helped. And I only recently stopped using it and my jaw is now good. But that had to do with a blocked throat chakra, a fear of expressing my truth. Watch for patterns of shutting down in emotional conversations, difficulty crying or expressing joy, or feeling uncomfortable when others openly share their emotions. Some of these also sound like autistic traits. Or you could have been dealing with someone that when you got emotional, maybe they became uncomfortable and maybe they became irritated that you were emotional. Again, that's not about you. That's about something going on within them. And your ego dissolution. Where would that be? Let's look at E. Oh, it's the page right before that. How interesting. The ego is a great servant, but a terrible master. Ego dissolution is the profound shift that happens when the sense of self you've constructed over a lifetime begins to unravel. The ego tells you who you are, what you need, and how to survive, but it also limits your experience, often trapping you in small false identities that keep you separate from the greater truth of who you are. When the ego is dissolved, there is a moment of confusion and fear because it's like an ego death. Because it is as though you are losing your identity, your sense of control, and your place in the world. You are no longer the person you thought you were, and in that space of surrender, everything becomes uncertain. But ego dissolution is not a loss, it is a liberation. It is a release of the illusion that you are separate, that you are a fixed, static entity. Healing this wound is about recognizing that you are not your thoughts, your accomplishments, your pain, or your past. You are a boundless, interconnected presence, and the moment you surrender to that truth, you stop clinging to labels and definitions. Your true self is not confined by the ego's boundaries. It is vast, free, and infinite. When you let go of who you thought you were, you allow yourself to step in to who you were always meant to be, pure, whole, deeply connected to everything. A profound and often unsettling unraveling of the self where long-held identities, attachments, and beliefs begin to dissolve, leaving a sense of disorientation, loss, or existential confusion. This wound manifests as a crisis of identity where old ways of defining oneself no longer feel true, yet the new self has not fully emerged. There may be a struggle to let go of personal narratives, achievements, or societal roles that once provided a sense of security. Some may feel detached from emotions, disconnected from the material world, or overwhelmed by the vastness of existence. Others may experience fear, as the dissolution of ego can often feel like a death, leading to resistance, anxiety, or attempts to grab onto anything familiar. Physically, this wound can manifest as dizziness, fatigue, or a feeling of being ungrounded. Over time, if not navigated into awareness, it can lead to emotional numbness and an inability to function in day-to-day life. Watch for patterns of existential dread, rejection of personal desires, or difficulty integrating spiritual awakenings into practical reality. It's giving me Dark Night of the Soul energy. So I feel like you were both meant to trigger a Dark Night of the Soul. I'm hearing one more, so we'll just get one more. One more. What are you? I feel like I need to read that one. But Spirit says one more. That's funny. You're funny, Spirit. You're funny. You're a funny guy. Not that Spirit is a guy. It's an energy. Lessons coming from soul contracts. Interesting. We also have the wound of devaluation. So I'm going to read both of them. Like I said, we're just looking at this today. If you want to know how your person is feeling about you, that'll be a different reading. My dogs are going crazy right now. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. Devaluation wound. The devaluation wound convinces you that you are not enough. Masculine energy, I am more than enough. Remember, they triggered your masculine energy. That your worth is tied to your achievements, your appearance, or how others perceive you. This is giving me distorted masculine energy. It tells you that you are only valuable if you live up to a certain standard or meet others' expectations. This belief often stems from being overlooked or made to feel insignificant, causing you to diminish yourself, hide your true essence, or doubt your worth. You may find yourself chasing approval. Anybody? Struggling to believe that you deserve love and respect just being who you are, and respect just for being who you are. Healing this wound isn't about shifting the belief that you must constantly prove your worth to others. It is about accepting that you are valuable regardless of external validation or perceived perfection. You don't need to be flawed to be worthy of love, respect, or success. Can I just say, somebody with this wound too, if you tell someone with this wound that they hurt you, that could trigger this wound, making them feel like they have to be perfect or like you're being critical. Embrace your journey knowing that being a work in progress is a part of your masterpiece. When you give yourself permission to exist as you are, Come As You Are by Nirvana is coming to mind. Imperfections and all, you reclaim your true worth and allow yourself to experience life fully and authentically. A deeply internalized belief that one's worth is insignificant, often shaped by experiences of neglect, dismissal, or being treated as unimportant. So someone with this wound could project that outwards and dismiss you or treat you like you're unimportant. Does that make sense? Or if you have that wound and this person neglected you, it could have triggered this wound within you, making it feel like really intense. This wound manifests as an inability to recognize your own worth, difficulty accepting praise. That's interesting. Does anybody else find compliments uncomfortable? Because you guys have cured me of that. You guys are so kind and beautiful. Before I started my channel, I was very uncomfortable with compliments. Like, they made me very uncomfortable because I didn't believe them. Or a tendency to downplay achievements or needs. There may be, I'm still working on that one. There may need to be an ingrained habit of putting others first, overgiving, people-pleasing, or feeling undeserving of recognition, or assuming that contributions are meaningless. Some may struggle to take up space, avoiding attention or deflecting compliments, while others may overcompensate, seeking validation through excessive productivity, overworking, people-pleasing, or a constant striving for external approval. Emotionally, this wound can create a cycle of self-neglect leading to resentment. And you don't, like Queen of Cups, I talk about overgiving. Eventually, if you don't fill your own cup up, you're going to feel resentful from overgiving and emptying your own cup. Burnout or deep insecurity. Physically, it may show up as a tight throat, slouched posture. Oh, I just got called out. Or chronic exhaustion from the silent burden of proving one's worth. Over time, devaluation can result in staying in unfulfilling relationships, accepting less than what one deserves, treating others how to treat you, remember? Or hesitating to pursue dreams, mission, out of fear of rejection or failure. Watch for patterns of self-dismissal, reluctance to advocate for oneself, and believing that personal needs are an inconvenience. I don't know about you guys, but when I was young, I was not allowed to have needs. And if I did have a need, it was like the end of the world. How dare you need something? Actually, that was when I was an adult too. That's what kickstarted my, that's actually what kickstarted my healing journey. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When you figure out which it is, you will know what to do. So, soul contracts are the unseen agreements that shape our experiences, bringing people into our lives to teach, challenge, and awaken us. Some arrive to push us towards growth, others to mirror our deepest wounds, and a few to walk beside us for a lifetime. The pain comes from when we try to hold on to what was only meant to be temporary or resist the lessons that were meant to transform us. This wound manifests as attachment to relationships that no longer serve us, frustration over repeated patterns, or difficulty accepting when people have to leave. Every soul you meet plays a role in your evolution. Healing comes when you learn to trust the timing of each connection, to honor and to trust endings and beginnings is what I'm hearing. Or separation. Trust when it's time for separation. Trust in the separation. Some people come to teach, to heal, to break you open so that you can step into your fullest self. When you accept that endings or separations are not punishments, you release the pain of loss and step into the wisdom of surrender. Exactly. Remember what I was talking about? Why me? Why did this happen to me? Accept it, release the pain of loss, and step into the wisdom of surrender. Every soul contract has a purpose. When you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what did this teach me? I need to when I was working out, I was hearing that. I was hearing, it's not why did they do this to me? What is the lesson in it? I should have said it. I wrote it down for another reading. I just should have said it. That's crazy. And start asking, what did this teach me? What did it give me? And I said all that when I was looking at the path. And I mentioned everything that it gave me. It gave me you. All right. And that's when your soul elevates, elevation. After you stop asking, why did this happen to me? Why me? Stop. It's what did this teach me? Reflect on what it's taught you, and then you go through an elevation. And I'm seeing you in an elevator going up a floor. And then you get to move forward further along that path. That why me mentality keeps you stuck. This wound can keep you stuck in cycles of pain without understanding their deeper purpose. There may be patterns of betrayal, abandonment, or loss leading to frustration, resistance, or resentment towards life and the people who seem to trigger these lessons. The resentment. This wound can create confusion, distrust in the universe, and sense of powerlessness in breaking free from repeating patterns. Where am I? Physically, this wound may show up as chronic fatigue, heart tension, digestive issues. Over time, an inability to acknowledge or integrate soul lessons can result in stagnation, a disconnection from intuition and spirituality, or a subconscious attraction to situations that reinforce old wounds. And I see it all the time in other people's comment sections and my own. People are like, I no longer trust spirit. Because they're coming at it from why me? Why does the divine feminine have to lead the way? That's not fair. Or they're focused too much on the end goal for them, which is union. Change your end goal. Your end goal is the journey to yourself. And this type of information is key if you want to evolve. And if you want to work towards union, this is part of the journey. I'm hearing this is your mission, whether you choose to accept it or not. You don't have to choose it. I always say it chooses us, even if we fight it. Anyway, there's such a bigger meaning to the counterpart journey than love, like romantic love. And I said it yesterday, self-love is the most important love there is. Loving yourself. It's easy to think that it's romantic love. I know this has been a very long one, but I'm hoping that a couple of people have a moment where they're like, whoa. Do you see when I read these? I'm like, guilty, guilty, guilty. I don't care. It triggers, when I feel that trigger, I know, whoa. When I feel that trigger, that's when I'm like, guilty. I'm still working on that. That's okay. There's no shame in admitting shadows or faults or things you need to work on. It empowers you and it frees your soul. I can't stress that enough. There are so many people that are afraid to look at themselves. And I was afraid to look at myself for a long time, and that actually manifested in the physical as being afraid to look at myself in the mirror. Like a literal mirror, looking at my own, like looking at myself. It's reminding me, I don't know why Spirit's giving me this, but when I was young, I went over the handlebars of my bike and I landed on my face. So this cheek is actually bigger than this cheek. And I used to be very self-conscious about it because I actually broke my cheekbone on this side because I landed on my face. And think about that, like I had wounds and like stuff all over my face. And I wouldn't go to school because I was embarrassed and I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror. And I'm just hearing the comparison of like people who are afraid to look at their wounds or they resist it. Those wounds can heal just like my face healed. I trust the universe to guide me towards my purpose. If I hadn't looked down that path, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you right now, encouraging you to get on your mission to help others. And one of the most important parts of my mission is to help people look within and heal. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I can't stress that enough. If I could, I'd live in a village with all of you, but let's not get culty or anything. Like, anyway, I'm not going to mention that documentary. We're not gonna get culty up in here. My friend talks about building an Ewok village. Wouldn't that be amazing? Or like Swiss Family Robinson. I'm just going to get a couple of surrender cards for you, my friend. Distorted masculine energy. Surrender your need to always be right. That could be your person. Give others the gift of letting them be right. Be yielding. Ever after. I will not yield. Distorted masculine energy. This will help resolve conflicts and improve your relationships. And maybe there's not someone who's right or someone who's wrong. Maybe you can meet in the middle. Anyway, these surrender cards are for you and your person. And I'll be back tomorrow with another love reading. But surrender to worry. Make a commitment not to lead an anxiety-driven life. When worry arises, breathe them out and out of your body. Focus on the power of your heart and have faith that Spirit is always guiding you. I was just watching the episode of Friends where Phoebe works at a call center, and she calls George Costanza, his name is Earl on the show, but George Costanza from Seinfeld, and he, says, nobody notices me in the physical world, nobody's there for me, I'm invisible. And she goes in there and she's like, the universe loves you, the universe loves you. I was like, yeah. All right, what do you need to surrender? Or what does your person need to surrender? What do you and this person need to surrender? So surrender to your soul's path. The path. I just heard the claw. I am the chosen one. That's hilarious. We're all those little aliens in Toy Story. Farewell, my friends. I am off to a better place. Your life's journey. See my inner child shining? People think I'm drunk. Your life's journey has been perfectly designed for your soul's growth. Embrace every lesson and every moment. Surrender to your soul's path. That's beautiful. Surrender your fear of change. Your person. The universe is reminding you that you are cared for always, whether you're afraid of change in your job, your health, or a relationship, or if you fear aging and death. Repeat the affirmation, I have faith that all is well. Surrender to wonder and awe. This always reminds me of Wonder Woman. Open to the magic of every moment. There's so many magical things happening when you're not like fixated on control and the rat race and all the things we talk about here. There's magic everywhere. There's magic everywhere. This attitude will keep you connected to the ecstasy of flow. It's fun to believe in magic because it's there waiting to be seen. Like all the magic I was talking about that happened with this reading, the download I got, like the tingly, the download of the black feathers, then checking my mail and getting 3 raven feathers. I've never even seen a raven. Surrender to the magic of who you are. Remember who you are, Simba. We all have magic in us. We're all born magical. It's programmed out of us. It's traumatized out of us. Even in the mundane aspects of life, remember that you are a magical being with a uniqueness and a worth that comes from just being you. You don't have to be anybody else. Don't try and be anybody else. Be your wonderful self. There's only one you. You don't need to be anybody else. Stop comparing yourself to others. And I love you and I'm proud of you, especially if you listen to this whole thing. That means you are open to your soul's path. You are open to change. You are open to magic. You are open to healing and facing yourself. And most of the world is not, which makes me super proud of you, and you're super cool. Like, you're cool. Cool shit. Anyway, I'm gonna go. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for being my friend.